shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Here's today's prophecy update. The Bible prophesies that a superstate will soon emerge out of Europe. It also foretells that Israel and the United States will remain close friends in the end times. Major stories confirming that both of these prophecies are coming to pass appeared in today's news. We'll give you the complete report on today's edition of End of the Age. It's always so amazing when you know what the prophecies of the Bible say. To see news articles from major publications that fall in line perfectly. Now, it doesn't surprise me because I've been watching it happen for 40 years now. And of course, the closer we get to the second coming of Jesus, the more frequent these things are happening. I mean, anymore, I can't even find time to talk about all of the news items that are breaking that fulfill directly or indirectly the prophecies of the Bible. But I never get used to it because it's just so absolutely supernatural. I want to take you first of all to a story that was published by express.co.il. And this article just came out today. It's entitled, "We Won't Give Up Our Superstate Dream. Juncker Vows to Press On with Federalist Expansion." Here's what it says. Defiant Brussels chief Jean-Claude Juncker today vowed to press on with his dream, are you ready? Listen, of creating a United States of Europe despite the surge in Euroscepticism sweeping the continent. Now, remember the subject, a superstate of Europe, the United States of Europe, he's calling it. The European Union boss forged ahead with controversial plans to create an EU army, that means a European-wide army, a foreign minister, and a centralized financial system. This is only happening just months after Britain voted to leave, in part due to Juncker's constant meddling. And he reiterated his commitment to the crumbling euro currency project, insisting that it was bringing huge economic benefits despite the crushing poverty and joblessness it has imposed on much of Southern Europe. When he says just a few months ago, when the UK left the European Union, that was June the 23rd, which of course is what? July, August, just less than 3 months ago today. Mr. Juncker used his annual State of the Union address this morning to deliver an impassioned defense of European federalism and to take a swipe at elected leaders who have criticized his all-powerful commission. But it was his recommitment to a long-standing federalist blueprint for a United States of Europe, which was the most telling part of the speech, as was the applause with which those remarks were greeted. Okay, now let's just pause here for a moment because I want to make sure that everyone listening today has a good understanding. The Holy Roman Empire ruled Europe from 800 AD until 1806 AD, 1,000 years. It was only with the defeat of Emperor Francis II that he was defeated, by the way, by Napoleon, that they announced the death of the Holy Roman Empire. So it died, but the dream did not die. Actually, it was attempted to be resurrected by Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler believed that he would bring in 1,000 years of peace with German supremacy. He had a concordat signed with the Vatican. Of course, Hitler didn't last long. He was horribly defeated in the worst war the world has ever known. However, coming out of the ashes of World War II, the leaders of Europe got their heads together and said, we will be shunted to the side of history for the next many, many years if we do not lay aside our animosities, quit fighting each other, and join together and recreate the Holy Roman Empire. Now, they didn't call it the Holy Roman Empire. They called it the United States of Europe. But I promise you, it means exactly the same thing. So what did they in fact do? In 1957, they got together and they decided to form an economic union called the Common Market. They reasoned that if you join together economically, get rid of all trade barriers, political union will inevitably follow. Now remember, at this time, you had two superpowers, the Soviet Union, the United States of America, and they were basically ignoring the old traditional powers of Europe in the decision-making for the course of the world. Europe didn't like it at all. So Europe starts down the long road of rebuilding. They formed the Common Market in 1957. It quickly became successful, and by 1992, they had 12 members. They started with 6. Now they had 12 key members, including Great Britain, Spain, France, West Germany, Italy, and other states. By 1992, all the barriers were gone. You could raise crops in one country, sell them in another, just like you could raise corn in Ohio and sell it in Indiana. All the tariffs were gone. Now, they made no bones about it, because by this time they had momentum and there were others lining up to join the union. So they had a meeting at Maastricht, Holland, and they pounded out a new treaty called the Maastricht Treaty. This treaty called for political union, which included a common money, the euro, also the election of a common president, a common foreign minister. So they started down that road in 1993. By 1999, they had their common money, the euro, and then they continued on building the structures. Now, they also wanted a constitution, because the United States of America has a constitution. They wanted a European constitution. Well, finally, on November the 3rd, 2009, they had it. They pounded out what was called the Treaty of Lisbon, the last of the 28 nations. By now, we've got 28 nations with over 500 million people that have now merged together, surrendering their sovereignty to this European Union, or the United States of Europe, as Mr. Juncker likes to call it. So all that has been happening. However, on this road, the states have been losing more and more of their sovereignty. Finally, Britain said, we want out. The resentment against Brussels, the headquarters of the European Union, built until finally the vote was held. It was called the Brexit vote, which means Britain's exit from the European Union. That happened on June the 23rd, and sure enough, Britain voted to get out. Well, that was a jarring thing for Europe. However, most of us thought that probably everything would just sort of disintegrate and fall apart. But within 30 days, some of the key structures of Europe, such as Germany, such as France, such as Italy, met together and said, we're going to accelerate our move toward total integration. And at that time, they announced one world economic policy, a one European economic policy. They announced one army. I mean, they said, we want to take the final leap to a United States of Europe. Now that Great Britain's not standing on the brakes, well, the rest of us are for it, so let's go. Well, that caused a lot of resentment in some of the states, and other states begin to talk about holding a vote to get out of the European Union. Up until now, none other has, even though some are talking about it. But these people who believe in a strong European Union, a United States of Europe, they say, look, if you want out, go. We know where we're headed, and we're within reach of our dream, and so we're going to go. Now, that's what this article is all about. Now, the reason I'm talking about this today is because the Bible prophesies that the Antichrist is going to come out of Europe, and that he will end up dominating the world in the not too distant future, and that this new European Union, this new United States of Europe, is going to be a rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. The Holy Roman Empire, which existed for 1,000 years, was begun when Pope Leo III put a crown on the head of Charlemagne, the strongest leader of Germany at the time. That was in 800 AD, pronouncing him the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. Well, then, the union between politics and religion, between church and state, between the strongest political leader from Europe and the strongest religious leader from Rome, they ruled all of Europe for the next 1,000 years. That's the reason it was called not the Roman Empire, but the Holy Roman Empire. It was a union of church and state. Well, the Bible prophesies that the Holy Roman Empire is going to be the power base of the Antichrist as the political leader and the false prophet as the spiritual leader. You can read it for yourself in Revelation chapter number 13. So that's what the Bible says is coming. And here we have in this publication, this speech made by Mr. Juncker, who is right now the chief executive of the European Union. He is in full court press to push this United States of Europe across the finish line. Let's go ahead and read a little bit more of the article so you can get the full flavor. In a telltale line, Mr. Juncker took the opportunity to once more praise the 5 Presidents' report, which he helped author in 2015, and which calls for the effective creation of a single European country. Now, those are not my words. I'm reading straight from this publication out of Europe, express.co.il. A single European country to help shore up the euro currency. Amongst the proposals in the controversial dossier are calls for a separate Eurozone treasury, parliament, and unprecedented integration of member states' economic policies, including powers over spending and taxation. Praising the stricken euro during his speech today, Mr. Juncker said, being European for most of us also means the euro. During the global financial crisis back in 2008, the euro stayed strong and protected us from even worse instability. The euro is a leading world currency, and it brings huge and often invisible economic benefits. Mr. Juncker also used his speech to announce the speeding up of the creation, listen to this, the creation of a centralized European army, which Brexiteers, that's those people from Britain who exited, Brexiteers repeatedly warned during the EU referendum campaign would fast become a reality. Well, they were right. He called for the creation of a Euro military headquarters. Now, we're talking about the military headquarters of the Antichrist, ladies and gentlemen. Make no doubt about it. That's what's going on here. We're watching the emergence of the kingdom of the Antichrist right now, and announce the creation of a European defense fund to bankroll the research and development of weapons to equip the planned Brussels force. Mr. Juncker said we should work towards a common military force, and this would complement NATO. Now, as you know, NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was formed at the end of World War II to stop the advance of communism. There were many fears that communism was going to take over all of Europe at that time. So NATO was formed to stop it. The United States of America became the backbone of NATO, but many other countries, especially the European countries, participate in that alliance. Well, many people have said, what are you going to do with NATO? They're especially concerned because Donald Trump, the Republican candidate for president, is saying, look, we have been paying the bill for the defense of Europe ever since World War II. The time has come for Europe, which the countries there are wealthy, the time has come for them to pay their own way. Donald Trump said, I'm not for the dissolving of NATO, but I am for them paying their fair share of the defense budget. Well, a lot of people think that Trump is wanting to pull out of NATO. And of course, that would just rip the backbone right out of NATO because America is the number one power in NATO. So here they are moving to position themselves to get along without America and to support their coming ruler, who will be the next ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, now Juncker says more European defense doesn't mean less transatlantic solidarity. From an economic point of view, bringing together our military resources can be clearly justified. He also called on EU countries to commit military personnel to the new army as soon as possible, saying the Lisbon Treaty makes it possible for member states to make their capacity available. Adding, I think it's high time to avail ourselves of this possibility. Reacting to the comments, Tory MEP David Bannerman said that Mr. Juncker's speech was evidence of a clear superstate arising, denied by Remain throughout. Okay, did you get that? It's the clear evidence of a superstate arising, and he is right. It's the superstate that the Bible describes as that last day union of Revelation chapter 13, verse 1 and 2, a union that will ultimately compass Germany, Russia, Great Britain. Yes, Great Britain voted out of the European Union, but they're still going to end up in this new union that the Antichrist will prevail over. The Bible says this superstate is rising. It will be the power base of the Antichrist, and it will ultimately dominate the world. Furthermore, the Bible says that a war is coming before this superstate rises in all of its power. A war is coming that will decimate the world, will kill 1/3 of mankind, undoubtedly weaken the United States of America, possibly totally destroy China. We don't have that information for sure. All we know is 2.4 billion die. That means 1/3 of the world's population. If that happens, they have to come from somewhere, and Asia is the number one place for mass of humanity. Between India and China, you have 2.4 billion people. Now, it horrifies us to think about that happening, but it's going to happen. The prophecy's clear. The prophecies never fail. When that war takes place, the United States will apparently pull back into some form of isolationism, and then the center for world power will swing straight to Europe, because during this war that kills 1/3 of mankind, Islam is going to be horribly weakened, if not totally decimated, because the war actually starts from the Euphrates River, which is a total Islamic area. It's what the Bible prophesies is getting ready to happen. And now I've been teaching about this for years, the rebirth of the Holy Roman Empire. And in today's news, ladies and gentlemen, the head of the European Union is declaring it's time for us to move forward with all speed to the full formation of our superstate. And believe me, he's speaking about the superstate of the Antichrist. Well, the article goes on to say, and UKIP defense spokesman Mike Hookham added, during the campaign, we were lied to about there being no plans for an EU army. Here in Strasbourg, Juncker makes it clear that Brussels wants its own military, and we will not have the power to protect ourselves. Okay, so the Bible prophesies a superstate out of Europe. And here they're talking about it in plain language in today's headlines, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the name of the article, "We Won't Give Up Our Superstate Dream. Junker vows." Well, they're not going to, and they're going to have it, but it's going to be a horrible disaster. It's only going to stay in power 3.5 years, but it will put mankind through the most horrible time. The Bible says it's called the Great Tribulation, a time of persecution such as never has been before, no, nor ever again shall be. Okay, now when the Bible talks about these things, I'll tell you what, let me do. This is a big subject I've got a hold of here today. Let me pause, because we're leaving for Israel on October the 27th. We have 8 seats left. One of them is yours, if you'd like to have it. It's going to be a wonderful trip. Furthermore, the United States and Israel just signed a wonderful treaty together to finance Israel for the next 12 years. I'll be telling you more about that a little bit later on. But it's totally safe to go to Israel. Out of 50 million travelers that have gone there over the last 30 years, not one fatality, not one in a million, not one in a million. You say, well, I've heard about a lot of things over there. Yes, you've heard about Arabs attacking Jews and Jews attacking Arabs, but you've not heard anything about the tourist industry being attacked. The only time you hear anything about that is when someone goes over there, rents a car that doesn't know what they're doing, and goes wandering off by themselves. There have been a few incidents, maybe a handful. But as far as organized tours with licensed guides, licensed buses, like you and I are going to be on, no problem whatsoever. I think it's safer there than it is here in the United States of America. You're going to have a wonderful time. So if you'd like to go with us, walk where Jesus walked, walk in the footsteps of the apostles and the prophets. And if you'd like to stand where the Battle of Armageddon will begin, and then you'd like to stand where the Battle of Armageddon will end, and then you'd like to stand right in the area that Jesus Christ will touch down when he comes back a few years from now, not very many. If I were guessing, I would say within the next 10 years. You might as well get a sneak preview, right? If you'd like to go into the tomb where Jesus spent 3 days and 3 nights, and if you'd like to go to the hillsides where the angels appeared to the shepherds the night Jesus was born, the same hillsides where David killed the lion and killed the bear and tended sheep, yes, all of that. 12-day tour, October 27th through November the 7th. Judy and I will be with you every step of the way. I'll be giving prophecy briefings at each place. It is going to be out of sight. It will be wonderful. So if you'd like to go with us, it's not too late, but don't wait, because we're getting very close to the close date. So call us right now. The number to call, 800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463, and simply ask to speak to someone about the tour. My daughter and my granddaughter are in charge of the tour. They're experts. They've been doing this many years. They will be able to answer your questions and help you every step of the way. It will be so exciting, and you and I will travel together for 12 days. I hope you can stand me for that long, and I will certainly enjoy being with you for that long. So anyway, it's going to be a great time. I can't tell you. I've been every year since 1993, and several times some years. Am I tired of it? Absolutely not. It's my second home. Well, I want to at least give you a little bit before we hit our break about our next prophetic fulfillment that hit the news big time today. This is the article, Landmark Defense Deal for Israel signed in Washington. This happened this morning. This comes from the Jerusalem Post. On Tuesday, both countries, Israel and the United States, concluded a landmark aid agreement worth at least $38 billion, the largest pledge to an ally in American history, which will govern their defense relationship through 2028. I will be shocked if the Lord is not returned by 2028. So Israel and the United States just signed a deal. And let me tell you about this deal real quick here, because I want to at least give you the essence of it before our break. This deal, the Bible prophesies that Israel and the United States will stay allies all during the Great Tribulation. Matter of fact, I'll read that for you in the next segment of our program. Israel and the United States are going to stay friends. The United States is going to defend Israel against the superstate of Europe. I told you these two were related. Against the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to hate Jews. He's going to be very anti-Semitic, just like Adolf Hitler. And he's going to make war against Israel. But the United States is going to run interference and stand against Israel. And we signed a defense agreement today, the biggest we've ever signed with any country. And your Bible says the United States is going to protect Israel against the Antichrist. Wow. I'm going to give you more of the article in the last half of our program. However, right now, let me tell you about a DVD that we have. It's called America's God-Given Destiny. We have produced this DVD, in my opinion, every American and every Israeli and everybody in the world actually should view this DVD. Now, for many years, I've been telling you the United States is in the Bible. However, I didn't tell you what the future held for the United States. Are we going to be part of the kingdom of the Antichrist? Will the mark of the beast be implemented here in the United States of America? Will we forsake Israel, or will we be a friend to Israel? How's it going to come down? I wasn't able to answer those questions, but I can now. I've found it in the Bible, America's God-Given Destiny. Now, if you'd like to have your own copy, go to endtime.com, donate any amount of money, and when you press the donate button, you're going to receive your password to hear America's God-Given Destiny. I would suggest you do it right now. Donate America's God-Given Destiny.
When current events are found in Bible prophecy, it's astonishing. At Endtime Ministries, we are seeing them unfold every day, and so can you. We've put together a current events in Bible prophecy package for anyone who wants to understand like never before. Irvin Baxter and his dedicated staff have spent hundreds of hours of research and study, and in doing so have discovered that current events in Bible prophecy are telling the same story. These 13 DVDs will prepare you to be ready in this extraordinary time that God has destined you to live. Call 1-800-ENDTIME or go to endtime.com and save over 20% when you buy the current events in Bible prophecy package.
Matthew 7 says, "Straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." In a world where our culture is spiritually underdeveloped, do you want to be one of the few who travel the road of spiritual maturity? If so, I recommend Endtime University. This 6-semester course will guide you through understanding the Bible, keys to spiritual growth, life and teachings of Jesus Christ, and Satan defeated, sonship restored. Watch the lessons at your own pace and enhance your study with the accompanying workbooks. This includes outlines for each lesson and quizzes to test your comprehension. Endtime University will help you walk the straight and narrow path to spiritual maturity. For more details, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. 1-800-ENDTIME.
If your station does not carry the full hour of End of the Age, go to endtime.com to hear the conclusion of today's broadcast.
Well, I've got so much to tell you about today. Number one, the tour to Israel. If you want to go, call us right now. If you want to see about going, you're not quite ready to commit, don't hesitate to call. We'll give you all the information. The number to call, 800-END-TIME, 800-ENDTIME, and ask to speak to someone about the tour, and you'll get either my daughter or my granddaughter, and they will tell you everything that you need to know. But don't wait. There's 8 seats left, so you got to hurry. Okay, now, America's God-Given Destiny, if you've not seen it, do it. And we've fixed this like we've never done before. A donation of any size. I mean, $1. If that's all you can afford, if that's all God lays on your heart, that's okay. Simply go to endtime.com, our homepage, click on the donate button, and when you do, and when you enter whatever your amount of your donation you want to be and give your information, when you submit that, you're going to get your password so you can download America's God-Given Destiny. I think it's one of the best things we've ever done, and you need to see it. Now, I'm giving you just a brief little bit of it on this program today, but you won't be able to get the good stuff because I don't have time for that right now. But nevertheless, get it. America's God-Given Destiny. Go to endtime.com, click on the donate button, and as soon as you click the amount of your donation and submit it, you'll receive your password through your email, and you can use that password to download America's God-Given Destiny. You're going to love it. Everybody that hears the lesson just comes up to me beaming. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I now know what's going to happen to the United States of America in these end times. So it's America's God-Given Destiny. Go there. One more thing, though. Brand new. We have a brand new series of 8 lessons disclosing what's going to happen from today to the Battle of Armageddon. That's the name of the series. From here to Armageddon. You can have it for yourself, 8 lessons. If you'd like to have it, the number to call is 1-800-END-TIME, the new series, From Here to Armageddon. Let me tell you one thing about it. This series includes a timeline that shows you the major prophetic occurrences that you will live through over the next 8 to 10 years. You can see them. You can see them in detail. And then we go back in the series and we talk about each of the major prophetic fulfillments, and we drill down, show you where the scriptures are, explain in depth what's going to happen at each prophecy so you will really get it. You talk about taking the blinders off and giving you telescopic vision so you can see what's coming long before it ever gets here. I promise you, you're going to love this, From Here to Armageddon. Okay, let's get back to our subject now. We're talking today about 2 articles. One article is stating there's a superstate rising in Europe. That's the kingdom of the Antichrist. The other article states that a new and unprecedented deal has just been signed this morning between Israel and the United States. I want to read the scripture to you real quickly here that foretells that the U.S. will be the protector of Israel against the Antichrist during the Great Tribulation. It's found in Revelation chapter 12, verse 13 through 14. Here's what it says. Now, I don't have time to teach the whole chapter, but in the earlier part of the chapter, Satan made war against God. Satan was defeated. He was confined to the earth. That war takes place halfway through the final 7 years, and that war is the event that triggers the Great Tribulation period. Satan is confined to the earth, and when he saw he was cast down to the earth, verse number 12 of chapter 12 says, "Woe be to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for Satan comes down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time." Then he perpetrates the Great Tribulation. The Great Tribulation is not the wrath of God. The Great Tribulation is the wrath of Satan. Satan comes down having great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. And this is where we pick it up in verse 13 of Revelation 12. "And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child." The woman here has 12 stars around her head. That's Israel. And we go into all of this in depth in America's God-Given Destiny. But nevertheless, the woman is protected. Well, first of all, Satan persecutes the woman Israel, which brought forth the man-child Jesus. And verse 14, "And to the woman Israel were given 2 wings of a great eagle." The eagle is the symbol of the United States of America. It's used that way in Daniel chapter 7, irrefutable proof. And now then in Revelation 12, verse 14, "To the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place." Her place is the promised land. That's where Israel is today. The land of Israel is her place. And so she's been given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into her place, where she will be nourished from the face of the serpent, from the Antichrist. He will be the face of the serpent. She will be be nourished from the face of the serpent for time, that's 1 year, times, that's 2 more years, half a time is half a year, for 3.5 years, which is the length of the Great Tribulation. Notice it says that there will be given to Israel 2 wings of a great eagle that she might be protected. Let me give you some quotes from this article that just appeared. It's appearing just today in the Jerusalem Post. And I'm going to real quickly give you the name of the article again, because you may want to look it up later and read the whole thing word for yourself. The name of the article is Landmark Defense Deal for Israel Signed in Washington. It's from the Jerusalem Post. Now, let's pick it up. Israel and the United States signed on Wednesday an historic defense agreement. Historic. Worth $38 billion over 10 years. Now, we've got 2 years left in our present agreement, so this agreement picks up in 2018. This is the largest such pledge in American history, hailed by both countries as a cornerstone of their alliance. Condoleezza Rice, Susan Rice, who is the international advisor, the advisor on international affairs to President Obama, Susan Rice said, the deal, technically a memorandum of understanding, ensures there will always be an Israel and an Israeli people today, tomorrow, and for generations to come. Sorry about your luck, Antichrist. This ensures there is always going to be an Israel today, tomorrow, and generations to come. Who says that? The eagle says that. Look on the back of your dollar bill. That's you. That's you, United States of America. The article goes on to say, wow, I'm getting excited. I am so happy I live in the United States of America. Do I gladly pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America? I absolutely do. The only thing that would ever stop me is if they took out the words under God, then I couldn't do it. And that would break my heart, but I hope that never happens, because I'm very happy as long as I can make my first allegiance to God, my second allegiance is to this wonderful country that you and I live in, the United States of America. Do we have problems? Yes, we do. Do we have flaws? Yes, we do. But it's still the most wonderful place in the whole world to live, and we need to work to make it better. Well, the article goes on to say, the agreement is a win-win for Israel and the United States. Susan Rice said, a pact which guarantees the security of the Jewish state, guarantees the security of the Jewish state. I just read it to you from the Bible. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness where she's nourished and protected all during the Great Tribulation. This article says that this agreement between the United States and Israel guarantees the security of the Jewish state and the sustenance of America's strongest ally in the region. Wow. Nagel said that the generous package provided to Israel is not taken for granted. He's the one that negotiated for Israel. Rice took the opportunity to reiterate U.S. President Obama's longstanding position on Israel's conflict with the Palestinians, which has at times put him at loggerheads with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. U.S. President Barack Obama praised the agreement as an example of his unshakable commitment to the Jewish state. Even though the going has been rocky and rough over the last few years, still the Jewish state's ties to the United States of America is so strong that even the things that have happened have not been able to shake it. The article continues, for as long as the state of Israel has existed, the United States has been Israel's greatest friend and partner. A fact underscored again today, he said. I told you this article straight out of the Bible, and it is. Re-emphasizing his belief that a two-state solution is equally important to ensuring Israel's security as is Wednesday's defense deal. Ultimately, Both this memorandum of understanding and efforts to advance the two-state solution are motivated by the same core U.S. objective that has been shared by all administrations, Democratic and Republican, over the last several decades, ensuring that Israelis can live alongside their neighbors in peace and security, he said. And Hillary Clinton, the Democratic presidential nominee, praised the Memorandum of Understanding as a reaffirmation of the common security interest, shared values, and deep historical ties that have forged the alliance over decades. The agreement sends a clear message to the region and to the world that we will always stand shoulder to shoulder with Israel, Clinton said, and will help solidify and chart a course for the U.S.-Israeli defense relationship in the 21st century as we face a range of common challenges, from Iran's destabilizing activities to the threats from ISIS and radical jihadism and efforts to delegitimize Israel on the world stage. So take that, Antichrist. The eagle is running interference for Israel, just like the Bible stated would happen 2,000 years ago. There wasn't even a United States eagle 2,000 years ago. U.S. wasn't born until 1776. But God knows the end from the beginning. If you own a Bible, you're a privileged person. If you understand the Bible, you're a double privileged person. Now, someone out there may be saying, look, I'd like to understand Bible prophecy, but I don't think anybody really understands it. I challenge you. I challenge you right now. We have a course called Understanding the End Time. It's 14 one-hour DVDs. I challenge you today. You get that course, and if it doesn't meet and exceed your expectations, just return it, and whatever you donated, we'll refund it fully towards you. It's called Understanding the End Time. Now, to me, this is where you start before you do anything else that we've ever produced here. If you've never been through the 14 lessons called Understand the End Time, do it before you take your vacation. Do it before you buy your Christmas presents. Do it. You can call right now and get your own set. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. It's called Understanding the End Time. You will understand the end time. You go through this course, you'll know more about Bible prophecy than 99% of the graduates from theological seminary. Call us. 800-END-TIME is the number. We'll be right back.
For centuries, ministers have been preaching the coming of the Lord. Although they tried, they weren't able to understand the prophecies leading up to the second coming of Jesus Christ. Today we are able to understand because the book of Daniel says the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Hi, I'm Judy Baxter. Irvin began studying Bible prophecy at a time when end-time prophecy was aligning with current events like never before. We have traveled around the world sharing the prophecies of the Bible. Now, 30 years later, almost anyone can get the end-time message via television, webcast, radio, magazine, and conferences. John 4:9 tells us to work while it is day, for the night comes when no man can work. Thank you, End Time family. You have enabled us to work while it is day to reach the world. Only eternity will reveal what will be accomplished together. God bless you all.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll have to admit, my hair is almost standing on end right now because in one day, 2 blockbuster articles that deal with the very central issues of the fulfillment of end-time Bible prophecy. 1, the rise of a superstate in Europe, which will be the power base of the Antichrist. 2, the solidifying of Israel's relationship with the United States and the United States making a firm commitment to defend Israel for the next 12 years. Now, it looks like all the prophecies of the Bible will be wrapped up and Jesus will be back by then. Now, this is not a prediction. But I'm going to be surprised, and I have studied prophecy all my life. And I'm telling you, everything's coming together right now. I will be surprised if this agreement that was just signed this morning between the United States of America, the U.S. Eagle, and the woman with the 12 stars around her head, both of them spoken of in Revelation chapter number 12. I'll be surprised if this agreement doesn't take us all the way to the second coming of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Let me give you a little bit more of the article. Netanyahu praised the deal on Wednesday as a clear demonstration of the strength of the U.S.-Israel relationship. That does not mean that we do not disagree from time to time, but these are disagreements within the family, he said. They have no effect whatsoever on the great friendship between Israel and the United States, and the friendship expressed in this agreement will help a great deal the fortification of Israel's strength over the next decade. Netanyahu thanked President Obama and his administration for the historic agreement. He also thanked our great many friends in Congress and the American people for their great support that crosses parties and spans the entire United States of America. Israel provided the administration with a letter on Wednesday saying that if more money is allocated by Congress, Israel will return the check. In other words, they have accepted wholeheartedly this deal, and they don't want to create a war between Congress and the administration over this deal. So they're saying, if Congress provides more money, we'll return the check. We're happy. We think this is a very wonderful and historic agreement. We're satisfied. We're not going to come back unless we have a war. If we're involved in a war, then we may need some more help. Now, let me say one more thing here. You say, but this is all for Israel. What's in it for the United States of America? Israel is our only firm and reliable ally in the Middle East. The second to that would be the country of Jordan. But the rest of the Middle East is headed toward Russia and Russian dominance, along with Iran dominance. So it's very critical that the United States of America has this foothold in the Middle East. Furthermore, all of this money has to be spent by Israel in the United States. They can't even use it within Israel for their defense factories. They have to provide their own money for that. But all the money must be spent with such people as Raytheon, such people as the different defense manufacturers here in the United States of America. So we'll get the money back in form of orders, but it's a wonderful relationship for both of us. Now, Nagel also said that Israel can ask for additional funding in case of war, and that it also can ask for additional funding for other items such as tunnel defense. Under the new Memorandum of Understanding, that percentage will, starting in the 6th years, gradually decline until by the 10th year, all the funds will have to be spent in the U.S. He said that there was a firewall between talks and the aid package and the Palestinian issue, stressing that at no time did anyone link the two issues. In other words, we didn't say, if you don't agree with this and this and this with the Palestinians, we're not going to give you this money. No, there was a firewall. That is irregardless of what happens on the other side. Now, speaking at the Brookings Institute in Washington, MK Errol Margalit said that Netanyahu has apparently forgot that the United States is Israel's natural ally and best suited to lead political negotiations, not Russia or Putin. Now, I knew this was going to come up because Netanyahu has said he will go to Moscow and there he will negotiate with Mahmoud Abbas over a peace agreement. Well, the United States has always held that position. Now that it's coming up. Well, I haven't heard much about the Moscow talks lately. They may have gone with the wind, or they may have been buried by this $38 billion agreement. I don't know for sure. We'll see what happens. Nevertheless, okay, with all that said, what does this have to do with our present presidential elections? Does it have anything? What does the future hold for the United States. What's going on here? What does the future hold for the United States of America? Well, I've already tipped my hand. The U.S. is not going to be part of the kingdom of the Antichrist. That's according to Revelation 13, 1 through 2. All of the beasts in Daniel 7, which prophesies the nations that will be on earth at the time of the second coming, they're all incorporated into this one world government beast of Revelation 13, 1 through 2, except the eagle. So what does that mean then? That means we're not going to be a part of globalism and the New World Order. Now that's the biggest issue in the present presidential campaign. But what else does the Bible say? I've already read it to you. Revelation 12, 13 and 14. America will protect Israel from the Antichrist and his one world government. Now, with that understanding, what's going to happen in the presidential election on November the 8th? Where do the candidates stand? Hillary is for globalism. She's for moving us into this community of nations. Trump is against globalism, and he's very, very strong for the defense of Israel. Now, does this mean then that Trump's going to win the election on November the 8th? Not necessarily. Now, there must be a turnaround away from globalism and back to national sovereignty on the part of the United States of America. But that doesn't necessarily mean it will happen right now in this election. What would it mean if Hillary were to win the election on November the 8th? Well, that means we'll keep going like we're going towards the one world governmental system, becoming more and more entangled with continued resistance from the homeland, from the United States of America. But then there's another wild card to throw in here. The Bible prophesies a war is coming that will kill 1/3 of mankind. Let's say Hillary were elected, and then during her first term, we have this war that wipes out 2.4 billion people. Now, whether Hillary is elected or whether Trump is elected, this war is going to happen. So whoever wins this election will almost certainly preside over this war. Now, if Hillary wins, she could be a one-term president because the Bible prophesies that the eagle is not going to be a part of the one world government of the Antichrist, that it's going to protect Israel against the Antichrist. So if Hillary would win, she could be a one-term president because her globalistic, her loyalties would suck America on in that direction. However, if she wins this and then is involved in this horrific war, it's very possible that she could be a one-term president. Then the next president could lead us back toward American sovereignty, whether that were Donald Trump running again or maybe a Mike Pence, because everybody really likes Mike Pence and he's very much against globalism. And so he would pull us out of that situation and we could be Israel's true, hard and fast friends. Now, I'm just speculating here for just a moment, but I felt like I needed to make the breaking news of the day somewhat relevant. Now, I've got a very short amount of time. I am going to go to the questions right now. Let's go right now to Shelby calling from right here in Texas. Hello, Shelby.
Hey, Irwin. This is kind of irrelevant to what you're discussing, but it's more about what's going on with the oversight of our country over the internet, which is a free resource for everybody. And how do you see that plays with the end times, with Obama intending to give over the technical oversight of the internet to, say, a body like connected to the UN per se?
Shelby, you did ask a very relevant question, because this is another globalism issue. Will we turn this over to the global government called the United Nations? If so, the internet could become a formidable weapon in the hands of the superstate that's going to emerge out of Europe, and the Antichrist will rule over it, and they will be joined tightly together with the United Nations. The UN will be the structure for global government. So consequently, this is a huge issue that pertains to what we're talking about here today. If that happens, the United States of America is going to surrender for nothing a huge asset and also put the control of the internet under the international community, which is something that should be prevented. I do not know how it's going to turn out. If it's going to be stopped, it's got to be stopped in the next 16 days because the shift is slated to take place on October the 1st. So it is a real urgent thing. Ted Cruz of here in Texas is trying to stop it. So all of you should certainly call your congressmen and your senators and say, do not give away the internet. Retain American control of the internet. I would encourage all of you listening to me right now, get on the phone, call your senators, call your congressmen, and ask them to please vote against giving away the internet. Thank you very much, Shelby. Let's get one more call in here in the little bit of time we have left. Joseph is calling from Florida. Joseph, make it fast.
Okay. I think it's more than a coincidence that this deal happened today, and right away the European Union stated how they were going to make plans to go on without NATO and that. To me, that says the Antichrist is setting up his camp and Lord is setting up his. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, that's a really good way to put it, Joseph, that the Antichrist is setting up his camp and the Lord setting up his camp. That's really what it looks like here. And I'm glad that we're on the right side because Amen. I certainly would not want to be in Europe right now with the enclosing forces that are pushing Europe towards this one world government. Great contribution, Joseph. I'm sorry to cut you so short, but we're totally out of time. We appreciate it. But that's a wonderful way to look at it. I've really told you the story, and it didn't even dawn on me until Joseph brought it to my attention that I've given you the story of the Antichrist setting up his camp in a major article today, and then the Lord setting up his camp. Now, that doesn't mean that America is totally righteous in everything that we do. We all know that. There have been some horrible things that have happened during the last 8 years, such as the enshrining of same-sex marriage. That needs to be reversed. But nevertheless, we're still doing many things right. And I still have the freedom to talk to you over television, over the radio, over webcasting. Thank God for those freedoms. So one more time, if you'd like to have Understanding the End Time, that series, if you haven't been through it, that's your number one priority. Get it today. If you'd like to go to Israel with Judy and I, call today. The number is good for both of them. 800 End Time. That's 800-363-8463. Or you can go to endtime.com.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.